Avatar 2 needs to make $2 billion to break even. Now, a lot of people are going, well, it's a misquote. It's a misquote. It's speaking out of turn. They've taken it out of context. And I'm going to stop everyone there and I go, definitely they could have done that. However, I think there's a few things that are really important to note here. Is initially it was quoted as, there was the thought process, unconfirmed. I can't remember if it's actually been confirmed anywhere, and I can't find it as being confirmed anywhere. $250 million. Now, James Cameron was asked straight up how much it was, and he said, and I quote, very fucking expensive. And then he went on to say that it would have to become the fourth or fifth highest grossing film in history to break even. Now, that puts it in the $2 billion range to break even. So it's not $250 million isn't its budget, or it is its budget. It is its budget, or there's a few things to factor in here because I don't run with the whole it's taken out of context. I'm going to take it on face value. I think it does have to hit that range to break even. The deals to make these films are old. The financiers on these films will be gaining interest back on their loan, right? That's something which was put on hold during COVID for a lot of films, right? This isn't one of them. This predates COVID, as far as I'm aware. So the finance deals for all of this could be raking back in its interest, which means, it would have to exceed the initial production budget. COVID could have added a significant amount of change. 25% was the initial reported amount that most production budgets would have to go up by for COVID rules and regulations. 25%, it's not a small amount when you're dealing with $250 million. And then the other thing is, James Cameron's notoriously not very good at actually keeping a budget. And the budgets can spiral out of control. And that might be what's happened here. So initially, what was said to be $250 million has now just blown out of control. But that's a notorious thing that he has done and has had problems with in the past. That's recorded. We know that. It's not conjecture or speculation. Tom, you sounded like you were going to jump in there. What do you think then?
Honestly, it tells me that this budget is a lot more than they're saying. I mean, I know they shot 2 movies together, but that still doesn't mean like the other movie is still its own individual entity, right? Like, so in this case, if Avatar 2 all by itself has to gross around $2 billion
just to break even,
then that means the budget's probably northwards of $500 million. And like you said, Nate, there's a bunch of people who get a big chunk of this on the back end for them to say, we have to make this much. This is what we try to tell people. Like, this is why, this $250 million movie thing can't last because these movies have to make all the money. There's no break even point unless you're the biggest movie of all time. And I'm sorry, not everything is going to be able to pull that off. It's a rare occurrence. Even Top Gun failed to pull that off with as astronomical as it is doing. I mean, with inflation, it probably beat The Force Awakens, but regardless, you had a movie that took forever for Top Gun to do that. There's no way Avatar 2 is doing that. Not a chance in hell. Because it just doesn't have most of the people that I have talked to, like you can do a poll in your chat right now, and I guarantee you at least 75% of your audience probably isn't planning on going to see this. And I specifically asked those of you who went to see the first film one day, are you planning on seeing the second film in theaters? And I said, only answer if you saw the first film in theaters. And 80% of my audience said no. To me, that's a good gauge of how this is probably going to go. And James Cameron's tone has been changing a little bit here in the last month, which tells me that somebody gave him a splash of cold water in the face, speaking of water, going, hey, bud, guess what? This is probably not going to make the amount of money that the first one did. In fact, we'll be lucky to make half of that. And as things are going right now, they've already kind of pre-warned him. You're probably going to have to shoot a new ending to part 3 because they left it open for part 4. So,
4 and 5, actually. But I mean, so this is the actual quote, which is, so how expensive is Avatar: The Way of Water? Early reports have claimed the production budget alone was in the $250 million range, much more than that. But director James Cameron isn't willing to give a hard number just yet. The only answer Cameron would give about the sequel's budget when asked by GQ magazine was the following, and this is just for that film. Remember, because loads of people are like, it's taken out of context. He's talking about loads, but talking about them both. No, very effing expensive. Cameron apparently told Disney 20th Century Studio executives his sequel budget was so high, it represented the worst business case in movie history, according to the director's estimates. You have to be the third or fourth highest grossing film in history.
Jesus Christ.
That's your threshold. That's your break even. And this is all to do with just the one sequel. He's not talking about, there's no, we're kind of reading it verbatim here. He's not talking about anything else. And so when we look at that, Endgame, second place, 2.7 billion. Titanic, 2.1 billion. Star Wars, Force Awakens, and Avengers Infinity War are 2.07 and 2.05 respectively. So it has to be above that. Like it's in the 2 billion range anyway. $2 billion to break even. $2 billion to break even with an economy, world economy, that's absolutely on its knees, falling apart. Now, I get it. Loads of people will still go to the cinema. Like, I'm one of those people that thinks
yeah, and it doesn't have a ton of competition, but yeah.
No, I mean, it doesn't. It doesn't really have any competition aside from is that Violent Night coming out as well? There's that.
Yeah, because everything else moved out of its way.
Yeah, I don't know. Is there any more? There might be some small, sort of fun, friendly animated movies that are being released.
Strange World comes out this week. That's Disney's.
Well, that's completely movie. That's going to bomb anyway.
And then
there's been no
and then there's. I think there's only one other movie that's coming out up against this, but I think it's like
there's Matilda. Matilda's
yeah.
being released. Never underestimate a musical. Musicals absolutely kill it. They kill.
Well, for Christmas, we got to remember how Jumanji played a lot better than people expected it to against Star Wars. And that's where I really thought Warner was stupid to move Aquaman, regardless of what they had to do with it. At that point, I'm like, fuck it. They might as well have tried to give it a run for its money with that,
Yeah.
But at this point, everything got out of its way. And the thing is I think it'll be lucky to match Avatar's domestic through the worldwide. What I mean is it'll be lucky to make 800 million worldwide, which is not going to be good for these guys, which means this is going to be a complete disaster. And the old adage is don't bet against James Cameron, but I think they just put the farm on it, and that's too much at this point.
But we said this before, Tom, is that
roll red. Yeah, sorry.
We said this before, Tom, is that the only thing that could possibly save this is the release date. It's such a great release date.
Yeah.
The timing of it, everything. There's no competition. There's literally no competition.
3.5 hours long.
That's 3.5 hours. You can have kids sit in the seats.
Long.
Love it. That's how family would
do. Do you think kids will like that?
Kids don't really care for long movies usually. Well, it depends on the age.
A bunch of kids were at the
and not only that, if people go see this in 3D for 3 hours, that's a headache-inducing mess.
But bro, you can argue either way. I'm just saying that this is the one thing that'll save it is its timing and release date and the fact that there's no competition. I'm
looking at the competition, right? So Violent Night will be released, right? So you got to remember that Avatar 2: The Way of Water it's a family film, but it does have to capture the adults to want to take their children to go and see that over another children's film, because there are other children's films being released. So there's adult and children films. So you got Violent Night. It's an R-rated film. Obviously, kids aren't going to go see that, right? We get that. No. You've got,
or at least parents won't take their kids to see that.
Yeah, well,
I hope not.
Well, they should. Why not? Man up a little bit. No, don't take your kids to see that. Brutal. I'm just scrolling through. So you are right. Like, there's not a lot, but I think there's The Whale, so that gets a limited release.
No.
I
mean, yes, it's being released, but it's not.
It's an adult one, though. It's an adult one.
There's no competition. That is not competition for Avatar.
You are right, but then there's competition on other things. Where's Puss in Boots: Last Wish? Where's that being released?
I think that's supposed to come out in December. Actually, now that you mention
Yeah,
it, yeah,
no,
Puss in
it
Boots.
is.
Yeah.
Is that a theater release? Because
Ooh,
if it is, that's a
I
kids film that
think so. That's the Antonio Banderas movie.
Puss in Boots.
Yeah, I saw an
The
advert
Last
for that
Wish.
recently.
Yeah, it
So
didn't
there's
look too
that.
bad, actually.
No, the
Release
animation
date
looked a bit
December
weird.
21st.
Though.
I wonder if it's an older movie and they just finally are releasing it. Because weren't they supposed to be doing a sequel to that years ago and it just never came out?
I
Maybe
think I
that's what
remember
this
that.
is. You know what
Could
I'm
be good.
wondering? Like,
And
maybe.
then you've got other
It comes-
things. You've got I Want to
guys.
Dance with Somebody. So there's that.
It's out wide release December 21st.
Puss in
Yeah,
Boots is?
Even though
Literally
in town here in LA it's out.
Oh my
Which I
gosh,
don't
so
get.
bizarre.
So weird.
You know what? I think there's enough. Which, given the fact that
That is a
this
Shrek
runtime-
spin-off too, so.
well, they were very popular. The Puss in Boots
Yeah.
films were pretty damn
No,
popular.
out of all those, Puss in Boots is definitely
I mean, look, the first Puss in Boots, right? The
I think
first
it did
Puss in
pretty
Boots
well,
took
yeah.
$555
Yeah.
million.
No, and like
That's
Tom
a
said,
lot.
it's part of the Shrek family.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
I think
Popular
that one came
character.
out right in between Shrek 3 and 4, so.
Came out 9th of December 2011. They've been going for a long time.
Check
Or
out the
maybe it was
private
after
chat.
Shrek 4.
So
I don't even remember what
I
the last
think,
Shrek movie was anymore.
I think, look, ultimately, these budgets are too high. We've been over this already.
Yeah. That's another
Avatar
thing.
2, it's not a done deal. I think everyone's saying it is a done deal. I think it's just, I just, yeah, don't rest on your laurels for stuff like this. You know, like there is competition and there could be some surprise hits there.